Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about 5 makeup products that released in 2021 that I am so glad I did not buy. I have no regrets whatsoever about passing up on these products, and as time has gone on, I want them less and less. Okay, so I also have filmed the counterpart to this video, which is 5 products that released in 2021 that I regret not buying. So I wish I had bought them when they first launched. It will be linked in the description box below and up in the corner. But for today, let's talk about 5 things that I am so glad I did not spend my money on. The first one is throwing it all the way back to January. This is the Ordinary Concealer. And the reason that I wanted to buy this is because I love the complexion products that I own from The Ordinary. So they are a skincare company first and foremost, but they have this line called The Ordinary Colors. And I have one of their primers, it's their silicone primer. And then I also have the serum foundation and coverage foundation. And I love all 3 of those products. So when I saw they were coming out with a concealer, I had really high hopes. However, in January, I was doing a no buy, so I decided not to purchase it. And then I saw reviews start to come out about that concealer. And one review in particular from Kelly Gooch made me realize that I would not have liked it at all. It is a high coverage concealer, which I have nothing against. I definitely have high coverage concealers in my collection. But in her review, she talked about the fact that it was like a thick, cakey full coverage concealer, and I hate that. If I have full coverage, it still needs to be like liquidy and creamy and smooth. I can't have a full coverage cakey concealer because I have very dry skin. So I think this would just have not been the right product for me all around, and I'm really glad that I didn't purchase it. Okay, next up is the Natasha Denona Zendo palette, the midi sized one, so the like 15 pan size. So here's the bottom line. Here's the honest truth. I think this palette is ugly. I think it's ugly. I almost bought this palette though because Natasha Denona did not send out any PR to any other people, and I could have gotten it for 20% off the day that it launched, and I would have had it in my hands and been able to review it and probably grow my subscriber count significantly by reviewing that palette. And I had kind of talked myself into thinking that I liked the color story. Like I had been like, oh yeah, cool tones and warm tones in the same palette. I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna adore this palette. I was like, the versatility, how unique, oh my goodness. And then I realized, number one, it's not unique. There are tons and tons and tons of half warm, half cool tone eyeshadow palettes. In fact, I own a few, and I just would never have gotten any use out of this palette because when I look at it now, I think it's an ugly color story. And you know, no shade to people who love this and own it and or want it. I totally get it. Everybody has different preferences, but I am so glad that I sat there and looked at that palette for like just a couple more minutes. And rather than letting that desire to grow my channel in honestly an inauthentic way, right? I would have been buying a palette that I don't even really like in order to try to attract people to my channel. Rather than letting that sentiment take over, I looked at it and said like, I don't want to own that. I don't want to have that, right? Like I don't like that. And I'm really glad that I took that pause and took a step back and really reconsidered and just decided not to purchase it. Next up is the Glossier Ultra Lip. And this one's interesting to me because I was super drawn to this release. This kind of a product, this like relatively high impact pigment, but still very like slippery and slick and shiny, that really appeals to me in a lot of ways. I really am interested in that. And Glossier was marketing it in a way that made it seem like it was this brand new, never before seen type of product. And I kind of fell for that trap for a minute. And then I started looking at like Ulta's website, and there are so many lip products that fall into that category. And one that really stands out to me is the Milani, shoot, I forget the name of it. I'm gonna have to pop a picture here because I forget the name. It's like fetish, skin fetish, slick fetish, something like that. It's kind of a weird name. They have a line of highly pigmented, super, super glossy lipsticks. And these have been on my list for a really long time, actually. Some of the more nude shades in this line I have had on my wish list for a long, long time. And they're half the price of the Glossier alternative, and they've been out for a long time already. And I know there are other brands that have done this as well. I mean, on the same like price scale, Fenty has their sheer shiny slip shine lipsticks. I can never remember the names of these kinds of products because they all use the same words, but Fenty has one. I know a lot of like luxury brands really go for this sort of a formula. So like this already exists on the market, and if I were going to try something, I think I'd prefer to try something a little more affordable than the Glossier. Next up is the Kaleidos Flower Punk palette. I have been wanting to try Kaleidos' eyeshadow formula for quite a while now, and this one kind of breaks my heart to put on this list a little bit, honestly, because I still think that this color story, the whole vision, the whole theme, all the marketing, the kind of unique opening aspect of this palette, I think that all of that I still love. I love it. I think the color story is honestly outstanding. I think it's beautiful, but I know I would just never use it. I know that these tones in here are kind of the exact colors that I tend to use least. Ironically, I have teal on my eyes today, and there's teal in this palette, but this is like a very rare occurrence for me. In fact, the video that I filmed for this eye look was called like blue eyeshadow outside my comfort zone. So I would not use those teals. True pinks like this also are kind of not my cup of tea. I do really like the kind of grungy green side of things in here, but I have that already in my collection. So like I don't need that half. So although I love this color story and I love the marketing, the packaging, everything, I just know myself and I know it would just not be what I want because I would never use most of the shades. On the flip side of that, the last thing on my list here is the Sigma Ambiance palette. And this is just like a pretty straight run-of-the-mill eyeshadow palette. It's just neutrals and that's it. And I cannot tell you why this caught my eye so much this year. I don't know what it was. I don't know. And it's so weird to me because normally when I like lust after a neutral eyeshadow palette, it's for a very specific reason. It's like I see a couple shades that I feel like are just totally different than what I already have in my neutral palettes, or I see a formula that's super unique, or it's from a brand that I've been hoping to try for a long time. So normally with a neutral palette, there's like something drawing me in. And with this one, I don't know what it was. I mean, Sigma is an interesting brand to me, and I am curious to try their eyeshadows eventually, but it's not like it's been something I've been looking at consistently for like months and months like I have with some other brands, like with Kaleidos, for example. So it's not the brand aspect. There weren't particularly unique shades or formulas or textures or anything in here. I cannot tell you what it is that drew me in so much about this, but I was on the verge of ordering this eyeshadow palette, and I had to like pull out my neutral eyeshadow palettes and basically talk myself out of it for a long time. And I don't know what that feeling was, but I am glad now that I didn't buy it. It would have just been another neutral palette in my collection. I don't need it. I don't really even want it anymore, but I do think it was beautiful. I think it was a very well done launch. So that is it. I would love to hear from you all what makeup has launched this year that you're really, really glad in hindsight that you chose not to buy. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And also be sure to subscribe and check out the counterpart to this video of 5 things I wish I would have bought when they launched. I really hope you enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.